Hi, welcome to today's video. My name is Paul. So this week I'm going to take a look at loose watercolor landscape painting. What does it mean? How do you do it? How do you get started? So on. Usual disclaimer, these are all just my ideas, and if you spend a bit of time on the internet you'll see different people have very different ideas. Person A tells you to do this, this and this, and then person B says no, don't do those things. Those are the bad things to do. It's the great thing about art, and it's also the most frustrating thing about art, especially when you're getting started. How do I start? Where do I start? What do I do? And everybody's telling you different things. There is no right, there is no wrong. In my opinion anyway, you just gotta pick a direction and start going in it and figure out how to make progress with that chosen approach to making art. Anyway, that's my opinion about it. So everything I'm saying in this video is just my opinions, and you don't have to hunt very far to find completely opposite points of view. But this idea of a loose painting style, kind of what is it? On screen you can see one of my watercolor landscapes. I would describe this as a loose style. Some of the things about it, it's quite simplified. There's not that much detail or complexity in there. It's a very simple composition, just simple shapes, simple colors. And to me that's part of a loose painting style. It's getting away from the very detail oriented painting style to something that's more, you're capturing the essence or an impression of a landscape. Impressionism was a big influence for me, especially with watercolor. So you're trying to capture that feeling of a landscape rather than a precise illustration of a landscape. To me, that's the first thing about, what is a loose painting style. If you Google on, go onto Google and type in, how do I paint in a loose watercolor style, something like that, some of the advice they give is things like use a large brush, paint with your non-dominant hand, embrace mistakes, so on and so on. Some of this advice, so I understand where they're coming from. I don't really agree with all of it, or any of it maybe. To me, the loose painting style isn't so much about the paper that you use or how you hold a brush. Those things are superficial to me. What's really important is the much more fundamental concept of a loose painting style. So at some point in your art career, you have to make a choice. Do you want to go down the road of sort of realism, naturalism, photorealism, hyperrealism, all those sorts of isms, which all have a similar goal? And that goal is primarily to reproduce what you can see as accurately as possible. So it's a painting style that is very technical. It has lots of rules, very little creativity. You can't just use whatever color you want. Your goal is to reproduce the colors that are in the landscape itself. So it is a fundamental approach to making art, that's your primary goal. You're not trying to express anything. You're not trying to be spontaneous or creative. You're just trying to be very technical and reproduce what you can see. That's one road. That's not the road that I took. I took a different road. So I can't advise you on anything about how to paint in a realistic way. I don't know. I don't care. It's not the road that I chose to go down. I chose the other road. So I chose the looser style, the style that focuses on spontaneity, creativity, expression. It's not about reproducing the landscape in all of its details. It's what does the landscape mean to you as an artist, and how do you express that to the viewer, to the person looking at your paintings. That's what it's all about. As I say, that's not a superficial difference. Those are two fundamentally different ways of looking at art and to making art. So to me, the loose painting style, it's not about the brush that you're using or the paper or any of those things. It's about how you approach art, how you think about art and what your goal is. So my advice doesn't revolve around paper or brushes or anything. It's about you as the artist making a decision. Which road do you want to go down? I don't think you can really go down both roads. I think it has to be one or the other. You may go down one and decide it's the wrong road for you, come back and take the other road, but you've got to make that decision, I think, at some point. On screen you can see another example, recent one, again a watercolor painting. Again, it's this idea of the loose style. It's not trying to reproduce accurately a landscape. Well, first of all of the landscapes that I do, pretty much all of them, are from imagination and memory. So I don't use any references. I would love to go out in the countryside and paint more. Unfortunately, sort of mobility issues make that difficult for me. But it's something I used to do and wish I could still do it. But these days I tend to use more imagination and memory. So to me, the landscape represents something and I'm trying to capture that feeling. I'm not trying to reproduce any sort of detail. I don't know if that makes sense. I don't know if that helps anybody. But anyway, that's my opinions about painting in a loose style. It's not just a superficial thing. It's quite fundamental. It's what is your goal in art? What are you trying to do with your art? Who are you as an artist? It's at that sort of level to me. If you made it this far in the video, thank you for watching and listening, and hopefully see you again in next week's video.